Friends, in our first reading, we hear about reliance on the Lord God. And the gospel today is about relying on the Lord for everything. And Jesus tells this parable about building, calculating the cost, planning ahead. And then he likens that to being a faithful disciple, discipleship and evangelization, as Bishop said. When we become a faithful disciple, we are suited to go out and share the good news and evangelize. Calculating the cost of discipleship. Again, the Lord talks about building a tower. And he says, look, there are those that build and don't have the resources to finish. So essentially, there's an empty shell there. And I think about that. Day before yesterday, I was passing through Strawberry up in northern Arizona. And there's a building on the left right before you leave the little town there. And it's been sitting there for a long time, unfinished. And there's a sign out that says it's available. Somebody started to build, and for whatever reason, they didn't have the resources to finish. And I also remember this high-rise. The first time I went to Guatemala in 1997 to visit one of my then sponsored child, and we were in a boat and we were passing by this place called Panajachel, and there was a high-rise that was just a skeleton. And Panajachel is a tourist town, and the high-rise was just a skeleton. And our guide, who was one of the co-founders of Christian Foundation for Children and Aging, Bob Henson, told us that it reminded him of this parable, that somebody started to build but did not have the resources to finish. The good news about that is when I went back as a seminarian in 2003, somebody had taken over that building and finished it, and Panajachel was a very thriving tourist city at the time. Here at St. Timothy's, we have created an environment where reliance on the Lord can take place, where a personal encounter with the Lord can take place. And this was thought about many years ago. Before I ever came here, it was thought about, hey, who's coming and who has spiritual needs, to establish this parish to meet those spiritual needs, that we can encounter Christ and realize our reliance upon him for everything. So today is Wednesday was our official rollout of the campaign, but this is our first weekend to offer it to the whole parish. And all parishes are required to participate. We are in the very last block of the campaign. So the campaign's been going on for several years, and St. Timothy's and some other neighboring parishes are in block 5, the final phase. We might ask ourselves, what's the difference between the CDA and the capital campaign? And there are folks outside at the tables that can answer that more thoroughly. The way I look at it is the CDA is about supporting the bishop's missions here in the bishop's ministry here in the diocese. And the capital campaign, it's not limited to, but it seems to me that it's about developing infrastructure so that people can encounter the Lord Jesus and these things happen in places. It happened for me at St. Timothy's. They happen in places. So develop that infrastructure, looking ahead, as the Lord says in the gospel, looking ahead and seeing what needs to be done. The John Paul II High School has been established as a result of looking at that need and looking ahead. And it's now on the west side. There was nothing on the west side. No Catholic high school on the west side. And where other dioceses are closing parishes, closing schools, this diocese, for whatever reason, is thriving, and we are opening parishes and even opening this new high school. Something like this it's a long time coming. And so this capital campaign is connected to the diocese, as we saw, but it's also connected to our parishes, so it benefits both because the need is there. for people to encounter Christ and experience that encounter, and then realizing the reliance upon God, becoming good disciples and good people who share their faith. One of the things that maybe you don't know about the John Paul II High School is one of our own teaches there. This young lady came through the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd program. She came through Life Teen, and that's how I came to know her. Then she went on to college and did an excellent job preparing. And then she secured a position at this new high school. She teaches science, and she's one of our own. It's really amazing the connection that this parish has with the diocese. We have folks that work for the diocese. We have folks that work for Life Teen International. We have all kinds of folks that fill in the pews that have a connection with the greater church and with the local church. An amazing parish. This young lady was commuting all the way from this side of town to the other side of town where St. Thomas Aquinas Parish is. That's the high school is in that vicinity, and she told me she moved a little bit closer. It's still a 25-minute drive. Wonderful young lady. She came through St. Timothy's and still comes here because this is her home. We have a new ethestablishment called the Nazareth House. It's just been formed, and it became real to me a couple of Fridays ago. This is a seminary here in the diocese for these guys that are preparing to go out for additional studies. Now, it wasn't real to me until I met with Father Paul Sullivan a few Fridays ago, and he told me, he said, "Oh, I was looking forward to your Labor Day barbecue, but I saw that you canceled it." And I said, "Well, it's really hot, and I've been doing a lot of dinners really focused on the individuals associated with this campaign, and so I'm going to opt out this year." And he goes, "Oh, I was going to bring the seminarians over." And so this Labor Day barbecue I do for the priests. I do one at Memorial Day too. That one is usually more attended. And I thought, wow, seminarians, didn't they all go back to the seminary? And he says, "No, the ones at Nazareth House." "Oh, yeah. And how many are there?" 5. And I said, "Father Paul, I'll figure out a way to load up my barbecue and head over there, and we'll do it on one of these Fridays. I don't want to leave these guys out." But it became a reality now. Nazareth House is not just here anymore. It's out there, and I want in some way to connect and help. This is still in the concept phase, a retirement house for priests. I'm going to be 57 in a few weeks, and I don't know how long I got, but we don't have one in this diocese, which is unusual for a large diocese. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the Archdiocese of Chicago and have been associated with other dioceses and archdioceses. We don't have one. So priests have to kind of scramble when they get to retirement years to take care of themselves. And then when they get into the situation where they need assisted living or full nursing care, it gets really complicated. And I want that to be established here in our diocese. We also want to expand our Newman centers. Now, we have one of our teachers in the grade school, her brother, he's, I think, in my estimation, one of the best priests in the Diocese of Phoenix. He oversees the Newman Center at NAU. That's even more important for me now because my little niece, who is now 18, just started classes up there. And it's like, I want a good, solid Newman Center because we know when kids go off to college, that's a time of departure from the church. And I want a good, solid Newman Center established so they have a place to stay connected. And it was obvious the times that I visited Father Matt up there that they've outgrown the Newman Center. So they need to expand. And we have a Newman Center at ASU. We have one at Grand Canyon University. And we want our young people to be evangelized and made disciples if that has yet to happen, and then so they can go out and evangelize others. The diocesan goal set for this parish is $3.3 million. So what Bishop said is 35% from $1 to $3.3 million, 35% comes back to the parish. So after we hit 3.3 million. We're doing a combined campaign. A lot of parishes did the basic campaign. We've discerned, we prayed, we sat together, we've discussed, and we decided really together to do a combined campaign because we see great need here at St. Timothy's to address the future. And so we decided to do a capital campaign that's combined. So once we hit the $3.3 million mark, 100% of everything that is donated after that comes right back to the parish. Some parishes, as I said, did just the basic one. But we want to develop infrastructure here because we know more are coming. More are coming, and more, especially people that have been here for a long time, have needs, right? Can you imagine those original founders, original members of the parish that are still here, and they've loved this parish for years, and now they're moving into retirement years. They've experienced mobility issues, and can you imagine, you've been here, this is your parish, you love it, and you can't get from the upper level down to the lower level because you can't negotiate the stairs. What does that say to these folks? Right? Some have come to us and told us the heartbreaking story. I love St. Timothy's, but I can't negotiate the stairs anymore. I have to go somewhere else. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to be the case. And I'm happy to say, right, as we roll this campaign out, because of the many, many busy bees, the many hard workers behind the scenes, I thank gratuitously because you've worked so hard. We already are at 1.2 million before we even roll out. 1.2 million is pledged already before we roll out the campaign. That's St. Timothy's. Projects here at St. Timothy's, we've reviewed, we've surveyed, we've asked you, we've talked, and we put together our findings. We do want those upstairs elevators and bathrooms. You know, this is something, I came here in 1993, and this is something I saw as a need then, and it's like, how come we have not done this yet? But we will. One thing to say about that too is some have complained, well, we can't have a bathroom inside the nave of the church. Well, it's going to be a tower, oddly enough associated with the gospel. It'll be a tower outside the main church that will come through roughly where you see those renderings of doors upstairs. And so people can come in from the walkway, people can come in from the parking lot, they can come straight downstairs if they want to, or they can go upstairs if they want to, and at either place you will have restrooms at your disposal. This to me is monumental, and it really needs to happen. We will not lose the ramp. If all works well, we've measured things out, and we're hoping that it will. So we won't lose the ramp because we find we use the ramp for many other things, and people were concerned about that. We would like to build a multi-purpose room at the school. Do you know that our students at the school, and I love our school dearly, have to sit outside for lunch? Now, in other times of the year, that's okay maybe, but right now, it's, even if you brought a cold sandwich, it's cooking out there. And so, I mean, on Friday, I think it was 111. You're like, goodness gracious. So we would like to build a multi-purpose room where they could eat lunch in air-conditioned comfort and use that room for other kinds of activities, for example, classrooms and maybe other things that we haven't even thought of yet. We may build a vestibule outside of the entryway to where maybe we could congregate there before Mass, visit, and then when we come in, it would be maybe a little bit quieter of environment for prayer. We would like to maybe remake the downstairs over there to accommodate more groups and classes, perhaps sectioning it off, because if anyone has ever called facilities to find out about availability of rooms, it's always a challenge, which is a good problem to have in a parish. I would invite you, we have renderings out front to take a look at those, some of the ideas that we have that we would like to do. Just to let you know, give you a heads up, there'll be mailings going out this week detailing these projects. I haven't mentioned all of them. Please review them. Please review them. And you will also receive a letter from me with a request amount for the capital campaign. It's based on your giving history, and it is a 5-year commitment. So when you look at the number, it's like, no, you don't have to come up with this right now. It's a 5-year commitment. And you know, we did this based on only a little bit of knowledge that we have from each of the parishioners. It's based on your giving history. But you know, I look at it from an analogy of an archery an archer. Maybe we overshot the mark, maybe we hit the bullseye, maybe we shot a little low. But pray about it and find out. Don't be offended. I can't say don't be shocked, maybe you will be, but don't be offended, but pray about it and see what you can do to assist us. And then one thing that we have to make clear, some of you may also be getting phone calls next week from our volunteers. We'll see about that. What I want to make very clear, is we can't split our tithe to the parish and this giving to the campaign. For example, say you give $100 a week to St. Timothy's for your tithe. And you say, well, okay, here's what I'll do for the campaign. I'll split that to 50 and give the capital campaign the other 50. Friends, that's gonna kill us financially. We've already put the budget together. We've made some cuts to try to negotiate the next year, the next 6 months especially, but that will kill us financially in the parish. If you have to make a choice between one or the other, I'm going to tell you, pick the parish, because we can't cut any more than we've cut. If we do, all we have left to cut is positions on staff, and those positions are critical. Those positions are needed to serve you. So remember that. It's like, okay, we're asking for an additional commitment, and sometimes we have to pray about it. Sometimes we have to look at things. I've heard story after story about people making a sacrificial commitment. One family says, you know, we go on, and they're in the retirement years and on fixed income, we go on these camping trips, and we're going to pull back from that. We're not going to go as often or as elaborate as we used to go for the next 5 years because we want to help. Somebody else told me, I can't believe, I was talking to them just on the side, hey, when are you planning on retiring? And they said, well, because of the capital campaign, we're going to push it back a few years because we want to participate. These are folks that want to make a difference both here in the parish and diocesan-wide. Unbelievable. Thank you for your commitment. People might ask, okay, Father, you're up there making this pitch. Do you have any skin in the game? Yes, I will never come up here and ask you for something that I'm not willing to contribute to. That includes tithing and any other kind of sacrificial giving. Yes, I knew what to expect because my brother pastors who are in my support group have told me what has gone on in their parish, and for the most part, they're done with their capital campaign. One of them, he was beside himself how the people responded, and so I knew what to expect. So I went to my financial planner and we kind of looked at all the numbers, and I said, can I do X for the next 5 years? And she crunched the numbers and she said, yes, you can do X for the next 5 years. And funny, because when I got my request letter, again, just like you will get, I looked at the request and I had made a commitment for 40% more than the request. So I'm not saying that everybody can do that. I'm in a unique situation, but yes, I have skin in the game. Some ask us, when can we begin these projects at St. Timothy's? Do we have to wait 5 years for the money to come in? And the answer is no. We can begin. We will get a distribution quarterly starting next year. So it would do my heart great. It would be a great joy from our heart to break ground next spring for the tower. That would be the first project on our list. So we can get quarterly payouts yearly. Let's plan ahead, folks. count the cost by making this parish better for those who have yet to come and those who are already here. My arrival in here in 1993, I wasn't ready. Somebody invited me, and I opened those doors, and I've been coming ever since. I was blown away. I was away from the church. And you folks inspired me. Your prayer, your praise, your hospitality, your joy, it inspired me. And I gave my faith another look. And then, a couple years later, I was sitting right up there somewhere on Thanksgiving after Mass, was actually kneeling behind the chair after receiving Holy Communion. And I'd become a practicing Catholic by then. It took a few years. And the Lord said, "What about the priesthood?" And at first I kind of pushed it back, but eventually the Lord is persistent. And we know that this parish has produced priests. Frankie Cicero, Tim Seavey, Eugene Floria. It's an incredible parish, and we want this place to be here for whoever walks in the door or whoever's already here that may have a call. I went to the seminary in 1998, and the parish sent me off. And I celebrated my first Mass right here. And then the deaf, they kept saying, "When are you coming back to St. Timothy's? When are you coming?" Because they knew that I served in other parishes. I said, "No, it doesn't work that way," until it did. I can't tell you, it's just providence. Reliance upon God can mean establishing a place where one can encounter Him. It can also mean leaving a place better than we found it in preparation for those yet to come. Let's leave the diocese and this parish better for those who will make this place